Well, they put out a new trailer for The Marvels, and I think it's very interesting because it's missing something. I'll tell you, I understand there's a lot of things working against this movie right now. People aren't invested because of the Disney Plus connection. The actors are not able to advertise the movie. People's opinions of Marvel currently are all over the place. Captain Marvel was not the most popular Marvel movie when it came out, so a sequel that leans heavily on Disney Plus stuff in a time where Marvel is not incredibly popular, I can see how that would be in a little bit of trouble. But I personally thought that first trailer that they released, the Beastie Boys, everybody switching powers and stuff, that I thought was really fun and made me pretty excited for this movie. I'm a little bit worried now because what it seems like they put together is a very generic trailer that seems to exist to sell this movie as two things. One, Captain Marvel 2, which sure makes sense. That is like the central character of this film, but I don't think that's how it was originally being sold. It very much originally felt like it was going to be sold as this team up movie between these three different characters. So I'm a little bummed that the advertising has sort of lost that. The other thing that I think they're doing with this new trailer that I'm not a humongous fan of, besides all the Avengers in the beginning stuff, although they've done that for a couple trailers now, so whatever. It's just like, I get it. You want to show some Avengers, get people excited. I think they may be leaning a little too heavily into it, like the clips of Tony and Steve saying whatever it takes. That feels like a little much. I don't know how relevant that's going to be to this, but it probably isn't going to be that relevant. Just kind of gives you that nice feeling like, oh yeah, Avengers Endgame was fun. But the other thing that it seems like this trailer is doing is just trying to hype you up for like a cameo or something. There's a lot of like the moment where everything changes. And as that happens, Nick Fury says they're here. And I've seen a couple people on the internet already speculating about who they is, as if it might be the Fantastic Four. And I think, A, that they is not connected to this. I think that is just they're here, like the army or something. And B, I think for a while we've kind of known what these cameos were going to be. And I think if they just kind of happened on their own, people would get very excited about them. I think the only way that they could mess it up is if they oversold them. Got people thinking that like Daredevil and every X-Men and all the Fantastic Four, Tobey Maguire are going to walk through a portal at the end of this movie. Now, it's not me saying that I don't think this trailer looks good. Like, I think if this was really the only trailer, I'd be like, okay, that looks fine. But I think what this trailer has sort of done is sacrifice a lot of the fun character stuff for some of the more generic Marvel movie stuff. And yes, this is the final trailer. This is supposed to be the very exciting, like, look at all this fun explosions trailer. But like, for instance, I believe we've known for a while that Prince Jan's planet, the planet that they're going to end up on at some point, is like got a weird thing going on. I'm not going to say what it is, but like something weird's going on there. I think if there's a moment to sell people on this movie that they haven't seen yet, it's that. Like, that is the thing that I think would get people into the theater, because that's fun. And I know a lot of the time people say like, oh, these Marvel movies are too silly, but I also think like there's a difference between like silly and fun, and I think people do want fun. Speaking of fun, what's not in this trailer is Ms. Marvel. I think that is a mistake. I think the trailer could maybe do a better job of contextualizing her and saying like, this is not just the Disney Plus character, like, here's who I am, I'm Ms. Marvel, this is why I'm going to be kind of a tough character to work with. Because in general, I think the pitch for this movie is actually quite strong. If you're making a Captain Marvel 2, you want to put her in the same room as characters that are going to make her life difficult, but she's eventually going to learn to love and they're going to work together. And one of those characters is this super powered, humongous fan of hers who she's never met and is kind of obsessed with her. Like, that's a really difficult person to work with. And then on the other hand, you have this niece who had to grow up without Captain Marvel, who maybe feels a little bit of resentment towards her and is a superhero now. So like, they have to reconcile. Someone that should have a high opinion of you, but because of what you've done, they don't. And someone that shouldn't really care about you, but because of what they've heard about you, they think you're the best. Like, putting these characters in a room together is a really interesting way to grow the character of Carol. But I don't think even the first trailer did a really good job of explaining that. I can't wait till this movie's out on VOD. I'd really like to try to cut together a trailer that I think could work. And it's interesting because if you go, because I went to comicbookmovie.com to find this trailer, underneath the actual trailer, there's a description that I assume is like the official description for this movie. And I will read it to you right now. In Marvel Studios' The Marvels, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. But unintended consequences see Carol shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. When her duties send her to an anomalous wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with that of Jersey City superfan Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, and Carol's estranged niece, now Saber astronaut Captain Monica Rambeau. Together, this unlikely trio must team up and learn to work in concert to save the universe as the Marvels. Like, that's the best description of this movie I've ever seen, and so much of that is not communicated in the trailer. Like, this Estranged Denise thing, I think, is a super interesting angle that they don't really talk about. The Jersey City superfan thing, like, I'd love to see more of Kamala freaking out when she meets Carol. Like, there's just, I don't know. I still have positive hope for this movie, but I think, if anything, this is going to go down as a really interesting exercise in marketing. How do you market a movie like this at a time where they may not be at their most popular? And what we've seen is they try something that I think was working pretty well, and just for reasons outside of this movie's control, like Secret Invasion doing pretty poorly and just general superhero fatigue, people are not as into it now. So instead of kind of sticking to it, saying we're going to put the movie out, and if people like it, they'll tell their friends and they'll see it. Instead of that, it seems like what they tried to do is kind of pretend the movie is something else. And I understand why they might be trying to do that. I can't think of a time where that has ever worked. The only other time I can remember something like this happening is the Harley Quinn movie, where they changed the title after the movie was released. So, at this point, just call it Captain Marvel 2: Incursion or something like that, because maybe that should have been what they called it all along. I don't know. I really hope this movie's fun. We'll see soon.